Do you want the convenience and success of a long term football package without a 6 month commitment? Wager Talk has you covered with the perfect package to get you started. Take advantage of our Rest of September NFL kickoff special, giving you both the National Football League and college football for the rest of September from the handicapper of your choice for only $1.99. Imagine every NFL and college football play for the rest of the month from your favorite handicapper, including any 5% release during your September access. That's right, college football and NFL for the rest of September for only $1.99. What a way to kick off the NFL season.
Welcome into college football today. Best damn college football edition. Ralph Michaels, Robbie Vino. I am Drew Martin. Guys, we got 4 games on the docket. We're breaking them down on today's show. We'll talk about best bets at the end. First up here, Robbie Vino. Check out his work at wagertalk.com. Robbie, college football expert. Welcome into the show, buddy.
I think we need a person signing what Rob's saying there.
We got Robbie muted on the mute button possibly there, Robbie. Not sure if we're getting Robbie's audio, but it sounds like we do have yours, Ralph. And Ralph, actually, we can just start off at the top, man, because in my inbox, I've been getting something from you. It's college football logs. I believe we're
Can you hear me?
Is the fact of what we're talking about it, Ralph. And they're good. I love looking at the plays ran really all throughout the kind of the Excel spreadsheet, I guess I can call it. Do you want to go a little bit more into detail? And like always, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks. You know what? We just started posting them at Wager Talk. They're free.
Okay.
All you need to do is go to wagertalk.com. You go to Ralph Michaels' homepage, you'll see the free download. The shortcut for that is wt.buzz/RM. And Drew, basically I did this. I took all the numbers that I look at for stats each week. You and I and Rob, we all analyze box scores. We all look if it was a misleading final. How many plays each team ran? Did they have big plays? What were the yards per play? And I also color-coded it to make it easy to read, and I put each matchup in rotation order. Couple quick notes I want to point out. We all know, anyone that handicaps for a living, a 2-0 ATS record or an 0-2 over-under record can be much different from one team to the other. If a team barely covers 2 games, you have to put an asterisk at a 2-0 mark. If a team barely goes under by 2 games, you have to look at the margins. So I include those. Yards per play, yards per point, first downs, turnovers, sacks. And I'm so excited to add this year, first quarter logs, both sides and totals, and first half logs, both sides and totals. So we'll see those teams that are big first half or poor first half performers. This will be available each and every week at Wager Talk. Check out my homepage, and I'll have it up for you Monday morning, first thing.
Yeah, Ralph, I mean, guys out there, this stuff is gold, what Ralph is doing. This is the type of stuff that I do in my handicapping for like games when I circle it and I go more in depth and want to try to find an edge over the odds makers. Ralph is doing this for all the games. I couldn't imagine how much time you're spending on this, Ralph. I mean, just a follow-up question to you. And you answered part of it in terms of being out Monday morning. You must be working all day on Sunday getting this information out, no?
It is Saturday and Sunday, because Saturday, not only you have to input all the lines, and inputting lines is one thing, but inputting first quarter and first half lines takes the entire period. As games end Saturday morning, I'm starting to put those in. Sunday morning, I'm filling out the rest. So, they are inputted manually. I don't have a scraper to do this because, as you know and Rob knows, physically looking at a box score and writing down the numbers is something you do to remember those numbers and remember how important they are. So even if I could scrape the information, I still want to physically look at the box score, go through the play-by-plays, and make my mental notes. So again, I think it's a valuable resource. Of all the things you download each week, I'll be doing them for the NFL starting next week as well. But the college football guide every Monday morning, the college football logs, to me is an absolute must download.
Yeah, I second that, guys. This is something, I know I'm personally doing it, Ralph, and I really appreciate it. And for you to give it out for free, that is great stuff. So, guys, check it out each and every week, Monday mornings, Ralph Michaels Experts page on wagertalk.com. Robbie, I think we got your audio working. Hopefully we do. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Hopefully you can hear me now, guys.
Yeah, we got you. We got you.
Yeah, let me real quick just vouch for what Ralph is saying there. As somebody who does the same exact thing with no scraping ability, manual input, I've been doing my own statistical, box score input for 25 plus years now. And this year I had to break down and hire a small additional crew to help me out because the workload, I also keep FCS as well. It just becomes such a burden to get this done in time for one guy. So Ralph, credit to you, buddy. I mean, I know how difficult it is. I know what you're doing. And thank you for sending it over to all of us that you did at Wager Talk here. I guess it was Sunday, because it's extremely helpful, and I know it'll be extremely helpful to all the viewers and everybody who watches Wager Talk shows.
Yeah, guys, check out those college football logs, Ralph Michaels Experts page. They're free Monday morning. I got that right, Ralph. I don't want to say it wrong. We're giving them out for free, correct?
Yeah, well, we're giving it out free the next few weeks. We'll see what happens. A lot of guys are saying you need to charge. So, that's up to the higher beings at Wager Talk is what's going to happen. But they'll be free this week. They'll be free next week. The NFL will start being free. I'm going to wait until post the NFL on Tuesday, though. I know some people want them on Monday, but I want to post with the Monday night game and the complete week stats. So starting next week, college football will be posted on Monday. The NFL will be posted Tuesday morning.
Really good stuff, guys. College football logs helps out with your handicapping a bunch. So check it out. Ralph Michaels Experts page on wagertalk.com. Let's get into the games. We're starting off with a big one here, guys. In Happy Valley, SEC, Big Ten. We're talking Auburn going to a Big Ten site for the first time in more than 90 years when they'll visit Happy Valley. They're 6.5-point underdogs here, Ralph. 53 being the total. Primetime on ABC. College game day is going to be there. What are you thinking with the Tigers and Nittany Lions Saturday night, Ralph?
Well, how well did Auburn prep for this Penn State game, let alone being a whiteout? Let's see, they were a 35-point favorite against Akron and a 45-point favorite against Alabama State. So, when you look at that, you say, how prepared will this team be? Last year, remember, very few fans, 2 home games, and then this is the biggest home field edge I give in college football. I give Penn State whiteouts a 6.5-point edge. So I already have Penn State higher. I give them a 6.5-point edge. You look at Bo Nix. Let's see what my stats say. At home, Auburn's quarterback, Bo Nix, has a 22-3 ratio. On the road, his TD to interception ratio is 10-10. So a 500 ratio on the road, 22-3 ratio at home. And Auburn's had it so easy. But still, when you look at the logs, you'll see Auburn's only run 58 plays. Yes, they're averaging 10 yards per play because they broke so many, but you have a slower paced team. They're not going to play hurry up on the road, the first road game. They're going to have communication issues with the whiteout. I look at Penn State's offense going against this Auburn defense. Remember, this Penn State offense only had 11 first downs at Wisconsin. To me, it's under the whole way. I lean Penn State because of the situation, but I do like under, and under actually has a shot to make my card as one of my client releases for this week.
Okay, good stuff here, Ralph. Robbie, coming to you next. Breaking down this game, I agree with a lot of what Ralph's talked about in terms of the home field advantage for Penn State. Auburn just taking Penn State out of this, Robbie. Auburn's a difficult handicap this year just themselves, because a lot what Ralph was talking about, the change in administration becomes a little bit of a tricky handicap, how they're going to be out the gate. And then they played Alabama State and Akron, an FCS team middling there, and Akron, probably a bottom 5 FBS team. So really, even though they smashed, they won, they're 2-0 straight up, 2-0 against the spread, how much can you really put into that? Because those are just talent discrepancy from what they're going to be facing on Saturday night is huge. And then you add in the whiteout. I don't know. If this was in Auburn, I might be interested in betting them. But as it stands right now, I think Penn State's the side. I think this number's short, under a touchdown. How do you feel, Robbie?
Yeah, Drew, you and I, we did every game on the board together this week. And to start that, I had said to you that week 2 generally I use as the week of overreaction, which a lot of people do, but I hate to categorize weeks as one thing, but that is something that you look at as a handicapper. Don't overreact, or are you reacting accordingly? And then week 3, I had said to you that I use as the strength of schedule week. There are so many instances where the first 2 opponents for one side give you a distinct strength of schedule, opposition strength advantage over the other. And Ralph hit on it. I mean, it's obvious. Penn State, not only did they play Wisconsin, go to Madison and win one based on their defense in the last 3 series of the game, where they picked off 2 passes. The offense didn't do much, but Wisconsin's defense is elite as always. And I would venture to say that you could get into a discussion in your local gin mill about whether or not Wisconsin has a top 5 defense in the country right now. Certainly you could make that argument. Penn State comes out of there with a win, huge win. And then they play Ball State last week. Remember, this is your MAC champion from last year. Ball State is not some, to use a boxing reference, tomato can type team. So they've been through it for 2 weeks. They did better offensively last week, whereas everybody's mentioned so far here, Auburn has just had a cakewalk. Bo Nix, again, I would have referred to it. Ralph already did. Bo Nix's results on the road throughout his career, especially in tough venues, have not been good. Defense has had to carry him in a lot of situations. He has not performed offensively. I know that during some of those, couple of those years, Gus Malzahn was calling plays, dishing off the play, calling to other people. There was a lot of, I don't want to call it confusion, but a lot of different circumstances in those cases. But still, again, no fans last year, and now you're going to be in front of all these people at Penn State, 90 some odd thousand, close to 100,000 in Happy Valley in a whiteout. I just don't see the Auburn offense. It's a offense, guys, that, Tank Bigsby is generally a run-first, run-oriented offense, and I think Penn State can stop that. I don't know that Auburn's offensive line will handle Penn State's front 7, so fundamentally I think that's an advantage Penn State, which forces Bo Nix to beat you through the air, and I'm not one who's sure that he can do that. Power ratings would suggest, Drew, that maybe this line is too high priced, and maybe Penn State is padded a couple of points here, if not more, for the home venue, for the early schedule strength, so on and so forth, because I show Penn State basically a 2-point favorite. They're 6. A lot of the Auburn power rating, has to do with the margin of victory against lousy teams. We'll see how it goes. Again, I've said it before, offensive coordinator Mike Yurcich, to me, one of the best in the game. He's already been through an extremely tough defense in Wisconsin. You can make adjustments here against a tough Auburn defense and possibly be successful. Ralph talked about Auburn not wanting to go at pace. Penn State will go at pace. There's no question. It's Yurcich's MO to go at pace. And he'll try and wear out an SEC defensive front, if at all possible, with Sean Clifford, Noah Cain, Dotson, all the weapons that they have. I lean Penn State, guys. There's no value in it, I don't think, according to my power ratings. But I think situationally and fundamentally, it probably screams Penn State minus the points here.
It'll be a fun one to watch there with the Big Ten and SEC going at it. And Ralph, before we move on, man, you have any final thoughts here?
Yeah, it was funny. I read something that said, both teams are off MAC wins. Well, looking at my power ratings, I have Ball State 23 points better than Akron in a neutral setting. So that term both off MAC teams doesn't quite apply when you're looking at last year's champ against the worst team in the MAC.
Yeah, really. That's a good point. I mean, you got to kind of put into preference here. Just like, all SEC teams, all Big Ten teams aren't the same. All MAC teams aren't the same. So great point in bringing that up in terms of just strength of schedule. Auburn, Ralph, I don't know that. I wouldn't be surprised if they have the easiest strength of schedule in all of college football to date.
Yeah, they usually that goes to Kansas State. So those are the historic Bill Snyder dates. I don't have those in front of me. Rob's nodding, so maybe they are. But again, that's part of college football. We're going to talk about a game where I overreacted wrong in BYU, and we're going to talk about BYU off a Utah win later. But when you're talking the bottom couple, who really can quantify? Because we don't know how bad Akron's going to be. We don't know how Alabama State could be. But if there is someone that's worse, it has to be, I couldn't guess that they played an FCS team and they would have had to play, like you said, one of the bottom 2 or 3 teams in the FBS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm guessing it would be like UConn or UMass. So going from that. But, well, guys, let's move down the list. We got another big one here. In the SEC, we get Alabama, Nick Saban on the road in the swamp, minus 14.5 point road favorites here, Robbie. We got 57 being the total. This game, 3:30 Eastern on CBS. And of course, we're talking the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Florida Gators. Are you interested in getting involved in Gainesville, Florida on Saturday, Robbie?
Well, first, let's say this. Power ratings show Alabama minus 15.5. In my case, so real close to the number. And the power ratings, Drew, again, just so I can explain them real quick, and then I won't have to do this the rest of the year. It's just raw talent and personnel. Now, I'm going to get into a couple of things here where you might lower that power rating for this particular game. But let me start with, again, a quarterback on the road, right? We're going to take freshman Bryce Young, true freshman. Looked great in his initial contest, but it was at home. Now you're going to bring him to the swamp and see if he can get the job done against Florida. And I'm not so sure. I have my doubts whether or not he'll be as successful as he was in week 1. And when I say successful, I guess I mean team success, because Bryce Young wasn't, lights out in that particular game. We'll see what happens here, but I would have my questions about the young quarterback, the true freshman, on the road in this environment, his first SEC game in front of a full crowd. It makes a difference. For Florida, the quarterback situation entirely different, right? Emory Jones starts the season, and he is the starter at this point in time, but Anthony Richardson looks to be the better of the two, right? And I'm going to very quickly credit a colleague of ours, Tony Mejia, who lives in the Orlando area, and actually alerted me to Richardson a couple of weeks ago. How about Anthony Richardson, 25 yards per carry so far as a dual threat quarterback? I don't know that it'll be long before he takes this job from Emory Jones. Right now he's being used in certain packages, but Alabama could have their hands full with the dual threat quarterback. And let me say real quick, again, Dan Mullen, I have to say that when I think back to last year with Kyle Trask as a drop-back quarterback and what he did, Dan Mullen, as the play caller for this team and as a guy who is much more comfortable in an offense like he had at Mississippi State with Dak Prescott. He's much more comfortable when he has a dual-threat quarterback. That's when his offenses seem to be their best. And for him to, adjust last year and have the prolific offense that he had with a drop-back, no run ability whatsoever type quarterback, credit to Dan Mullen. But now he's got two guys that can run. Emory Jones has thrown 4 interceptions and only 2 TDs, so he hasn't been good throwing the football. But 2 good dual threats for Alabama. Here's the concern. You're already without starting linebacker Christopher Allen, and now it looks as if you're going to be without a second starting linebacker in Will Anderson. Left the game last week with a knee injury. Don't have permanent status of being out on him as of yet, but it looks that way. It's headed that direction, as if Anderson and Allen will both be out. And Alabama's anchor this year, they're the best team in the nation. Let's not act like they're not here. And I don't want to act like they're not. But the defense is the anchor at this point in time. And when you're going to lose 2 of your starting front 7, I know that, we consider Alabama to be plug and play at times. I don't know that you just plug and play when it becomes cluster injury to starters at one certain position. So I think that could be problematic for Alabama. If there's one guy that can exploit it, it would be Dan Mullen. I think Florida guys here, I'm always leery to play against Alabama, but I do think that the plus 15.5, or excuse me, the plus 14.5 might be worth a look. I really think that over the total is worth a look, especially if Alabama is without 2 linebackers, because Florida looks to me to be an offensive juggernaut at this point in time, despite all the talent that they lost to the NFL on the offensive side of the football. Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney, we mentioned Kyle Trask. I just think that points could be in abundance here at the Swamp. I know Dan Mullen will have a good offensive game plan for this team. And again, if the Alabama injuries become a problem, we probably will see this game get over 58.5.
Ralph, coming to you next, this is a fascinating matchup. One, because what Robbie was talking about, Florida looking good, I guess, offensively with the playmakers at the quarterback position. The only thing is, this is a huge step up in class. I mean, they went up kind of against their little brothers in the state of Florida and FAU and USF. Now they're going up against the best team in college football. And Nick Saban, maybe this is just me thinking this, but he is 17-11 ATS as a favorite the last 3 years. In this price range, Ralph, where the team that Alabama is playing, when they have kind of like that puncher's chance to win in here, like Florida minus 14.5. We saw it when they played Miami. What was that? Minus 19. This is where Nick Saban excels. He smashes in this price range. I don't know, man. I could see it. Florida coming out in the Swamp, heck of an atmosphere, giving them a game. Who knows? Puncher's chance of winning. But if I'm getting involved here, I'm laying with Alabama, Ralph. How do you see it?
Well, a lot of what Nick Saban, did the last couple of years is because you had a number 1 drafted quarterback, a number 1 first-round receiver, number 1 first-round running back. Now, not that the talent's not there to have that again, but having a true freshman play on the road, to me, is a different story. I rarely disagree with Rob, and to me, I had under in this game. Now, that was before I knew about Alabama's linebackers. So it's never going to make one of my plays, but it clearly is a game that I looked at and I marked down under on Monday when I started to break down games. And the reason is this: true freshman on the road is a big deal. And then you look at Florida and you talk about an explosive offense. Well, if you're going to rush for 400 yards a game and you're going to rush for 8.5 yards per carry, I could look brilliant as a quarterback. I mean, if your whole defensive front is trying to stop someone from running 8 yards every time they touch a ball, well, yeah, your receivers are wide open. If I was Dan Mullen, I wouldn't have played Anthony Richardson game 1 or game 2. Bama now has film on the mobile quarterback. Yes, they're going to spy. And let's not remember this: Alabama returned all 3 linebacker starters and got back their number 1 tackler from 2019 who opted out last year. So this is a team that really had 4 starters. Yes, they're down 2, but they still returned 2 starters. Now, obviously, you're going to spy Florida's quarterbacks, which you haven't done in the past. Richardson with 275 rush yards, Emory Jones with 155. Their top running back only has 126 yards. So thinking Alabama can spy Florida, take them out of what they did on offense the first couple days, I think is an edge. Having a young quarterback for Alabama, I think is an edge to the under. But while I talked under and I still lean under, that play, again, did go by the wayside with those 2. I'm going to just give a quick lean on Florida. It's one of those games where you play the first conference game of the year. Coaches seem to be a little more conservative. Coaches are more familiar with the personnel on the field. So take the home dog in this type of role. I'll lean with them. The under, I'll still lean with that. Button heads with Rob. Maybe he and I will bet a burger on that. And we'll see what happens. Neither one, though, is now close to being a play for me. And and neither one even make my top 20 opinions on the cards. So to me, it's a wait and see. I think Florida clearly has more to prove to me than Alabama, because if Alabama gets any type of rush attack, and Brian Robinson's fine. I mean, he's certainly not what they're accustomed to having with Najee Harris back there. So, Alabama was a quick starting team all of the last couple years. A lot of people were on Bama the first half and Bama over the first half. I think this is going to be a very low-scoring first quarter, especially.
Good stuff so far, guys. We got 2 games left. Best bet looks at the end. Ralph, coming back to you here for a fascinating handicap with the Cincinnati Bearcats and the Indiana Hoosiers up next. AAC, soon to be Big 12 and Big 10 squaring off 12 noon Eastern. So kicking us off here on Saturday, we're seeing Cincinnati -3 in the hook, -4's popping up as well as we're looking at the Wager Talk odds screen, 49.5 being the total. This is a good one to start off Saturday. Ralph, you interested in getting involved with Cincinnati and Indiana?
Well, I'm going to sound a lot like, let's see, Auburn. Oh, yeah, Cincinnati, 89-21. Well, they played Miami of Ohio and Murray State. So they're not quite to the Auburn level, but I'll tell you what, they're not far behind. Now we have a quarterback, Desmond Ridder. Last year he played 2 road games. They played at SMU with no fans, an SMU team that allowed 422 yards per game. And they played at UCF with no fans or very few fans. UCF last year allowed 492 yards. So now you're playing a Big Ten team, your first road game with fans in over 2 years. You're AP top 10. You're ahead of Ohio State in the polls. Ohio State's now 10. You're ahead of Big Brother in the state of Ohio. You're dominating. You have Notre Dame on deck. I think the Hoosiers win this game. I think Cincinnati is full of themselves. Not that they're not a good team. They're not the number 8 team in the country. They're getting so much publicity love. You've played such a weak schedule. The Notre Dame game, is in the future and you have a bye-on week. But there's no question people are looking. Let's see, if we beat Indiana and then we beat Notre Dame, we host UCF, I think we could run this out and become a national title contender. And when I have a team like Indiana that, they got mauled against Iowa, at least on the scoreboard, it was 34-6. The game was not that bad. I mean, the offense struggled, yes, against an Iowa defense on the road. Penix struggled on the road week 1. But now you're back at home. You had the Idaho game where you won 56-14. You still only put up 338 yards, so that's a bit of a concern. But I think this is going to be a dead under game again. And anytime I can get an Indiana team that I have power rated against an overhyped or overconfident Cincinnati team. I can't say they're overconfident because if they beat Indiana and beat Notre Dame, then they deserve to be confident. I don't expect them to do that. So Hoosiers for me and the under in this one.
Good analysis there, Ralph. I wasn't hearing a lot about the Indiana side. Might make me pump the brakes here on Cincinnati. Not sure how you feel, Robbie. Only 130 miles separate these two schools. This is going to be a good atmosphere. A lot of Bearcats fans on the road. And, of course, Indiana, wild place there in Bloomington, Indiana. So should be a fun one to kick us off here on Saturday, Robbie. What are you thinking, Bearcats and Hoosiers?
Well, I totally agree with Ralph, and I'm going to try and dig through again. This is why I bring so many pages of notes, because I know that he's going to have a lot of the same stuff. But we're being repetitive here, but let's drill this point home. Strength of schedule in week 3 matters. Take a look at it. I'm not saying it's going to provide you easy ticket cashers, but you have to look at it. And this is just another case where one team has gone up on the road against a team like Iowa, and the other team hasn't played anybody near Iowa. It's another game where I think the line is padded because of what we've seen through the first couple of weeks here. Cincinnati's a 4-point favorite. I show them being a 0.5-point favorite, basically a pick'em game on the road here. Cincinnati, if you're making a Cincinnati defense, or at least all the Cincinnati defense, an argument that I see, a major highlighted point of that is, well, they played Georgia tooth and nail in that bowl game last year, almost beat them. Again, you could go through this with SEC teams playing group of 5 teams for the last 15 years. They don't take them serious. There's no way Georgia was interested in playing Cincinnati, and every which way Cincinnati was interested in playing Georgia. They've got everything to win, nothing to lose. So it was played again. It's a bowl game in front of no fans. We're going to use that. We're going to drill that home again because you're bringing a quarterback on the road in front of a hostile crowd. Desmond Ridder hasn't really been in that situation since Cincinnati's been so highly rated. Look at the teams that every single offseason publication, media outlet, national commentator, look at the teams that they jumped on bandwagons for this year. They all want to be the smartest guy in the room, right? Iowa State, oh, they're top 10. Boom, they're done. Indiana, oh, they're going to beat Iowa. They're top 10. Boom, Indiana goes and gets beat. Cincinnati's next in line, guys, as far as I'm concerned. You're going to come here. Indiana's already been there, done that in week 1. They have a redemption factor here after what happened in week 1. And I'll go back to what Ralph said about that final score, 34-6. 2 interceptions for touchdowns, a 56-yard run by Goodson for Iowa. That's 21 explosive play points that kind of bring that game back to 13-6. I don't want to sell Iowa short because they've done it 2 weeks in a row. They beat 2 real good teams, Indiana and Iowa State, with their defense, basically. Indiana didn't give up a lot of yards in that game. Indiana played very vanilla last week. They ran the ball 50 times and only threw it 20. They were just testing their physical nature. Tom Allen is a very good defensive game planner. I'm sure he'll be ready for Ridder. I'm sure Michael Penix will take the head-to-head to heart here, him against Ridder. He wants to redeem himself for what happened in week 1. They're at home. Stephen Carr is a big-time running back, guys. Remember the production that he had at USC before he transferred here, and Ty Freifogel, a big-time wide receiver for them as well. So they've got the playmakers. I just think Indiana plus the points has to be. I could be wrong, but I just think that everything points that direction here. They were hyped, probably overhyped, but they were thought of as being a real good team and a threat this year for a good reason because they've got good personnel and a good head coach. I think that all comes to the forefront here against Cincinnati in their first true road test and their first real test of any sort on the road this year.
All right, boys. So going from the kickoff on Saturday, 12 noon, Cincinnati, Indiana, to the nightcap on Saturday, Arizona State and BYU. Degenerate special time slot here, but hardly can call it that. This is a good one late night, Robbie. We get Arizona State -2 on the road in Provo, Utah. 50.5 being the total. We saw BYU really stand up at home. That was a wild atmosphere. I'd look for it again here. Pac-12 versus, I guess, BYU, soon to be Big 12, but independent. 10:15 Eastern, nationally televised game here, Robbie. What are we thinking? Arizona State, BYU, late Saturday.
Well, I'm going to lean towards Arizona State, Drew. And again, it's not a good value play where my power ratings are concerned. Because power ratings indicate if I was just going to use them and base all my plays solely on power ratings, I'd be on BYU here. But I think that the other side is the right side for a few. And again, with me, it usually comes down to fundamental and situational aspects of the handicap. And I think they both lie with Arizona State here. Let's start with the most obvious thing. The low-hanging fruit here is BYU and the Holy War last week against Utah. I know you can't have more than 100% focus on a game and intensity on a game. But BYU had all of that and then some. And so did their crowd. Their home crowd was tremendous last week. And they out-physicaled a very physical Utah team. And Utah, with all the hype surrounding them coming in with Charlie Brewer at quarterback. I happen to think Charlie Brewer is a real good quarterback. But they were no match for Brigham Young, who lined up, ours against yours, and they just, as I mentioned, out-physicaled Utah. So I think that their intensity and focus will be to a lesser degree this week against Arizona State. Now, I think what Arizona State brings to the table this week is unique. It's different than what Utah brought to the table, and mostly in terms of speed. I just don't know that Utah, as you watch them, they're not an extremely fast football team, and Arizona State is. Utah doesn't have an explosive dual threat quarterback. You know, BYU did not have to prepare for what Jaden Daniels this week might bring to the table in the RPO game or broken play-wise with his legs. It's an additional dimension that I don't know that BYU's ready for here in this particular contest. I like the defensive coordinator situation at Arizona State. I know some probably don't. I happen to like it where you have Antonio Pierce, former New York Giants linebacker, and Marvin Lewis pretty much heading up that defense. And I think they'll have these guys ready. Again, speed on defense to me is a big edge for Arizona State in this particular game. I don't know that BYU receivers will be running free with separation against anybody. And I think that the Arizona State defensive front may be underrated at this point. That's an extremely good defensive front that's liable to give BYU a lot of trouble as far as getting through gaps and at the line of scrimmage, creating havoc in the backfield. So for Arizona State, I think team speed is huge in this game on both sides. The letdown situation, of course, I think could affect BYU. Arizona State will come in here. BYU will have the bullseye on their chest. Arizona State will be ready. BYU, for their first two wins, it really hasn't been a tremendous offensive showing. I know I've heard and read a couple commentaries on quarterback Jalen Hall as if he's Zach Wilson or, you know, resembles in some way, shape, or form Zach Wilson. I'm not so sure that's true. We're going to find out when they play this opponent this week. If he does it here again, I'll believe it. But I think the other side is too explosive, too good on defense. I think the situation favors Arizona State. So I'll lay the points. And again, I'll say it again, it's not a value spot. I'd much rather lay less than 3.5. The numbers was pushed. Opener was 2, moved all the way to 3.5. When it cuts through a 3 like that, and it's early, big money groups seem to probably prefer that side. I think Arizona State's the right side here.
All right, good stuff, Robbie and Ralph. Coming to you in conclusion, I mean, you know, BYU, look, they're pretty deep. They're a big, strong team. They surprised me when I saw them in person last season, and I had question marks with the quarterback position. To Robbie's point, he's looked good to date, but now they're going up against the Pac-12 team, looking to go 2-0, back-to-back Pac-12 teams, knocking them off at home. You think they can do it?
Well, you know, a couple points for our viewers. Rob and I both brought up strength of schedule on the Auburn side and the Cincinnati side. Well, this is the opposite. Arizona State's played one of the weakest schedules, guys, Southern Utah and UNLV. But that doesn't mean we automatically write those off. We just want you to be aware of the strength of schedule. Obviously, Arizona State is a quality team. You look at BYU off 2 Pac-12 wins. So if Utah beats BYU, and I don't think I've ever been more wrong on a game than last week's Utah-BYU. Am I surprised BYU won? No, that wouldn't have surprised me. Am I surprised BYU out-physicaled Whittingham's Utah team? Yeah, that blew me away. I never thought that BYU, with 9 or 10 returning starters, would take that Utah team with a quarterback that's experienced and manhandle them on the lines of scrimmage. So hats off to the Cougars. You guys did a great job. I was completely wrong. I gave out Utah. I bet Utah. Big loser, have to move on from that. But I think now, where Arizona State might have been the attractive team, I think BYU now has a bullseye on their back. Listen, you're Arizona State. You know that they just beat Arizona. You know that they beat one of the favorites in Utah in the Pac-12. So now you are completely focused on this team. You're not thinking about your home game against Colorado next week. You know you have the Cougars. Now, I will say this, again, reading through write-ups on the games, people have talked about the BYU Cougars being 7-1 after Utah. You may say, well, they're well coached and they bounce back after the rival. But I'll say this. Those are one of those trends that I throw out the window. Why? Because remember, they lost the previous 9 games to Utah. So BYU was coming off a loss to Utah, and then they did respond going 7-1 ATS. Now, for the first time in a decade, they beat Utah. So that 7-1 record is, when you're analyzing games, for those viewers semi-new to sports betting, that's one of those angles you don't want to use because the situation is completely different. I'm going to say this. Can BYU manhandle Arizona State's offensive line? Arizona State's got some impressive rush numbers against very weak defense. I'm going to have to wait and see. They did it against Utah. That means they may be able to do it again. But Rob said one thing, and that's the reason I have no play on this game, is that you cannot give 110% back-to-back weeks, no matter how much you think you can. When you're going through your schedule and you circle those games that these kids circle in March when they're practicing, in June when they're studying the playbook, in August when they start studying the August plays, BYU circles one game. That is Utah. You've now won. You've accomplished those goals. You can play well, but you can't play 100%. I agree with Rob. The lines move too much, so I don't want to be on the Arizona State side. I'm not playing Utah in this situation, but I am going to give an opinion on the under. I think Arizona's defense is good. I think Utah doesn't get some of those big plays they did last week. And my opinion for the show, and for the 4th time out of all 4 games, under the total.
Like in the under, late night. Good stuff from Ralph Michaels. Guys, we talked about the college football logs. Those are free on Ralph Michaels' experts page at wagertalk.com. I definitely recommend it if you're doing your own handicapping out there. It really helps me. It's something I've used personally here throughout the start of the college football season. Also check out Robbie Vino as well at wagertalk.com. Guys, it's time for best bets here. And you know what? I'm going to talk about a game we didn't talk about on today's show. It's Mississippi State and Memphis. These two teams not too far apart, of course, border states there. And Mississippi State with Mike Leach, throwing it around, a lot of passing yards. Memphis just went up against Arkansas State, gave up 35 first downs, a whole ton of passing yards, which I learned from Robbie Vino on the Every Game on the Board podcast. And I think that this is just a tough matchup-wise, defending this pass attack, and Mississippi State's defense. Very good so far. I like the boys from Starkville to go up to Memphis in the Liberty Bowl and come out as the winner to dominate in this one. There's -3.5 is the widely available number. There are a couple prominent offshores at -3, -120. That's what I bet it at personally. I would recommend that for the Mississippi State Bulldogs as the short road favorites against Memphis as my best bet for the show. I'll throw it over to you, Robbie. Guys, follow him over on Twitter at Rob Vino Sports. His work at wagertalk.com. Obviously knows his college football, giving out a lot of good information there. Robbie, you got anything, final thoughts, any best bet looks for the show?
Yeah, I always give one out of the 4 that we talk about here on the show, Drew, and I'll do so now. And I'm a little bit torn between 2, but I'm going to go to the last game that we talked about, and I will play Arizona State as the best bet on this show. And, there's a bunch of reasons, situational, fundamental. This Arizona State team is not the same type of beast that Utah was. Again, when you've lost 9 in a row to your most hated rival, that takes all your energy, all your focus, all your motivation. It just can't be the same this week against Arizona State, a team that presents a dual threat quarterback, which just brings a whole nother situation to that defense. And again, heading into last week's game, Drew, Ralph mentioned that BYU beat Arizona, and it's a Pac-12 team. And earlier we talked about how all conference teams are not created equal. Arizona is a team that I bet under 1.5 wins this season, or 2, whatever the heck the number was. I have to go back and look at my ticket, but for various reasons. One being Jed Fish. You guys remember when I came on and put the big X in front of my face, and that team went out and they threw for 345 yards on Brigham Young in that initial game. And last week I was using that as a reason to play against BYU. That number still scares me because Arizona State has that same type of ability, except they're a cohesive offense. Arizona's a team that is dealing with nothing but spread shotgun quarterbacks jammed into a pro style, take the snap from center, 35% of the time style offense. They were still able to throw for that many yards when BYU was ahead in that game. They didn't get to the quarterback. They got thrown on up and down the field. And it was a little bit nerve-wracking. And I think you'll probably see what we saw in week 1 done by Arizona State. So, again, the value is not there, guys. If I was just playing line value, I wouldn't be here. But I think the situationals and the fundamentals just overwhelm what the value is here. And I think Arizona State wins this game by a touchdown. So give me that as the best bet, -3.5.
Good stuff from Robbie Vino. Ralph Michaels, finish us off, buddy. Where are you going for best bets?
OHIO, on Bet On It today on the TNA segment for college football. I looked at game 3 favorites of 14 or more off a straight up loss. And I'm not one that looks at specific games. And, after game 1, 2, and 3, I don't look at games. But I think game 3 is a pivotal point. You're into the season. You're a big favorite, so you're obviously a very good team. You likely won your opener. You lost last week, so you're 1-1. Now you're moving forward to the rest of your season. So going back to 2009, game 3, college football favorites of 14 or more off a straight-up loss have covered 62.2%. So you have a 62% angle. You have an Ohio State team that's played one of the toughest schedules in the country, starting at Minnesota and then hosting Oregon. You have them off their first regular season loss and the first loss under Day. You have a Tulsa team who lost to UC Davis in week 1, had to go to Oklahoma State, your in-state rival that you recruit against, and you play them tight in a 5-point loss. Now you're traveling to a fired-up Ohio State team whose defense was horrific, whose offense kept moving the ball and getting shut down in the red zone. I think this line's a touchdown cheap. I'm using Ohio State minus the 24.5. Buckeyes, I'm expecting a 51-10 type score in this game.
I like it, Ralph. And guys, in review for the best bets, we got Mississippi State -3, Ohio State -24.5. And Arizona State -3 in the hook. So we're laying the wood here all across the board on Saturday. So, Ralph, I'll come back to you. Any final thoughts here for the show before we shut this down?
Nope. Appreciate you guys watching. Like I said, if you haven't grabbed those logs, do them. Next week, Monday morning college football, Tuesday morning NFL.
There we go, guys. Check out the college football logs on Ralph Michaels' experts page at wagertalk.com. This is the best damn college football show as part of the College Football Today time slot on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. So come join us next Wednesday as well. For Ralph Michaels, Robbie Vino, I am Drew Martin. Best of luck with your bets until next Wednesday, boys. Thanks for tuning in.
Do you want the convenience and success of a long-term football package without a 6-month commitment?
My pen's all
Wager Talk
over
has
the
you covered with
place.
the perfect package to get you started.
I couldn't
Take
even get it
advantage
in
of
the
our rest of
screen.
September NFL
There we go.
kickoff special, giving you both the National Football
That was
League and
horrible
college
on my
football
end.
for the rest of September from the handicapper of your choice for
I'm
only
gonna have to put that
$1.99.
thing right up like.
Imagine every NFL and college football play for the rest of the month from your favorite handicapper, including any 5% release during your September access. That's right, college football and NFL for the rest of September for only $1.99. What a way to kick off the NFL season.